There is a reason you are here. Not a coincidence, not an accident, but a precise alignment, a calling that brought you to this exact moment, this exact frequency, these exact words. The title of this transmission whispered to you because something inside you already knows. Stop losing your quantum frequency, how to stay in destiny coherence all day. It is not just a headline on a screen. It is a mirror, reflecting the truth you've been sensing but couldn't yet articulate. You have felt it, haven't you? The fluctuations, the moments when you are glowing with clarity, when synchronicities line up like pearls on a string, when everything feels guided and flowing, only for that coherence to collapse without warning. You slip back into noise, into distraction, into doubt. You wonder, how did I lose it? Why can't I hold it all day? But listen closely, that very cycle is not a failure. It is a signal that your destiny is not about brief flashes of awakening but about stabilizing the field of your being. You are being summoned to learn coherence, not as a fleeting spark, but as a living state. You see, your life is not random. You are not just drifting through experiences like a leaf in the current. Your frequency is an instrument, and when it is in tune, reality itself rearranges around you. Conversations open, doors appear, obstacles dissolve. But when you fall out of tune, the music stops. The world feels heavy, resistant, fragmented. And so, the question of your destiny is not, will you awaken? The deeper question is, can you hold the resonance long enough for your future self to emerge fully? Right now, in this very moment, you are standing at a threshold. You are hearing these words not because you stumbled upon them, but because your field has called them in. The hidden truth is this: you are already vibrating at the edge of coherence. You are closer than you think. Pause and feel that. Your breath is not shallow coincidence. It is a bridge between dimensions. Your heartbeat is not just biology. It is a metronome, keeping time with the pulse of the cosmos. Every choice you make, every thought you allow, is tuning your instrument, either sharpening it toward destiny coherence or scattering it into static. There is a reason you are here. Because your higher self, the version of you that already walks in complete alignment, already lives inside the field. That self has orchestrated this meeting. That self is whispering, "Stay. Do not lose this frequency again. Anchor here." And so, this journey is not about learning something new. It is about remembering what you already know, stabilizing what you already feel, embodying what you already are. Stay with me, because in the next moments, we will uncover the hidden loop that has kept you scattering your energy and how to finally step out of it, once and for all. You have felt it more times than you can count. The rhythm of awakening, rise, fall, rise, fall. One moment, you are alive with presence, infused with certainty, aligned with what can only be described as destiny coherence. The next, you are back in the loop, the same patterns replaying, the same distractions pulling, the same heaviness returning as if nothing had shifted at all. This is the loop of forgetting and remembering, the loop of coherence and collapse, the loop of being the observer, only to get trapped once again inside the observed. And if you listen carefully, you'll realize it has a texture, it has a rhythm. It's not just mental, it's energetic. You wake with clarity, feeling as though today will be different. For a while at Island, you notice synchronicities. You sense your higher self close, breathing with you, guiding you. You feel the golden thread of destiny weaving through your choices. And then something happens. A thought, an old memory, a minor irritation. Suddenly the thread slips. You can't hold it. You're back in static. This is not random. This is not weakness. This is the timeline trap. The trap that convinces you reality is outside of you, when in truth, it is looping through you. Think of it like this. You are the observer in a hall of mirrors. Each mirror reflects back to you a fragment of who you think you are, your past, your habits, your fears, your beliefs. And because you are looking outward, you forget that the light in the room is coming from you. You chase one reflection after another, trying to polish the glass, trying to rearrange the angles, not realizing that the source is your own luminous field. The loop thrives on one thing: unconscious repetition. It feeds on the small, unnoticed moments when you collapse into automatic patterns, when you check your phone without thinking, when you replay an old argument in your head, when you tell yourself, "This is just who I am." Each of these is like a quantum measurement collapsing the wave, fixing your reality into the same probability field you've been living in, again and again. And so, you live inside the same repeating script. Different characters, different scenery, but the same underlying vibration. The loop keeps you tethered. It makes you believe that coherence is a fleeting high, instead of your birthright. But here's the truth you have not fully allowed yourself to feel. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are not powerless in this loop. The very fact that you notice the pattern proves you are beyond it. The loop is like a dream, and awareness itself is the awakening. Think of those moments when you've caught yourself mid-thought, when you suddenly realized you were lost in the same story you told yourself years ago, when you recognized that the frustration in front of you was not new, but recycled, when you laughed, not bitterly but with awe, at how the universe had once again mirrored your inner state with precision. In those moments, you touched the edge of freedom. You saw the gears of the mechanism. You glimpsed that the trap is not solid. It is holographic, an overlay, dissolving the moment you see it for what it island. The question is not whether you are strong enough to escape the loop. The question is whether you are willing to stop identifying with the loop. Because the truth is, you are not the repeating pattern. You are the awareness of the pattern. You are not the hall of mirrors. You are the light shining through them. And when you claim that truth, when you stabilize it, you stop losing your frequency. You stop scattering your coherence across 1,000 distractions. You begin to live as the conductor of your field, rather than a passenger in it. But let us go deeper. Because to truly break free, you must understand not only the loop, but the very fabric it is woven from. You must see how the principles of quantum physics are not abstract theories, but living metaphors of your consciousness. You must see how wave and particle collapse in coherence. Observer and observed all are reflections of your inner journey. So breathe with me, stay with me, because in the next movement of this transmission, we will step beyond the trap and into the mystery where science meets symbolism, where physics becomes poetry, and where your awakening finds the language it has always been waiting for. You are standing in the threshold where science bends into story, where equations dissolve into myth, and where the language of the quantum world begins to whisper about your inner life. For too long, you may have thought of physics as something cold, abstract, a domain of chalkboards and calculations. But what if I told you that every principle discovered in that invisible world is a reflection of your consciousness? That quantum physics is not only a science of matter but a mirror of your awakening. Let us begin with the wave and the particle. At the smallest level of reality, light and matter do not behave like objects. They are waves of potential, infinite possibilities, stretched across space and time. They only collapse into one form, a particle, a definite outcome when observed. Do you see the symbolism? Your life is the wave. Your future is the wave. Infinite versions of you exist, shimmering in the field of potential. And yet, whichever self you observe, whichever story you believe, collapses into the particle of your lived reality. This is why coherence matters. When you scatter your attention across doubts, distractions, and fears, you collapse into fragmented versions of yourself. But when you sustain coherence, when your attention is unified, when your frequency is steady, you collapse into a timeline aligned with destiny. And it does not end there. The quantum field is non-local. Entangled particles remain connected no matter the distance. Touch one, and the other responds instantly, even if separated by light years. This is not just theory. This is a mirror of your soul. You are entangled with your future self. You are entangled with the people you are destined to meet, with the lives you are meant to touch. That is why synchronicities appear. They are not coincidences, they are echoes of entanglement. When your field is coherent, the universe aligns events around you, because at the deepest level there is no separation. And think of superposition, a particle existing in many states at once, until observed. That is you right now. You are both the self who doubts and the self who trusts. You are both the self who repeats the loop and the self who breaks free. You are both the self who feels small and the self who knows they are infinite. All possibilities live within you. The question is, which version will you stabilize with your frequency? You see, science is not separate from spirituality. The double-slit experiment is not just an experiment, it is a parable. It tells you that you are not a passive observer. You are the one collapsing the field. You are not drifting in randomness. You are sculpting probability with your awareness. So when you lose your quantum frequency, when coherence slips, it is not because you are weak. It is because you are collapsing into the old script, the old observation, the loop. And when you return to coherence, even for a moment, you can feel the future rushing toward you, the golden thread weaving through time. Pause here. Imagine your breath as the wave, expansive, limitless, invisible. And imagine your choice, your attention, as the collapse into the particle. Every inhale holds infinite versions of you. Every exhale births one version into reality. Breath after breath, you are shaping the timeline. Do you see how beautiful this is? You are not at war with science. Science is your ally. It is the coded language of your awakening. It is showing you, again and again, that you are not just matter in motion. You are consciousness collapsing the field. You are the dreamer, not just the dream. And so the question shifts. It is no longer, why do I lose my frequency? The question becomes, what would happen if I stayed aware of the wave while I chose the particle? What would happen if I remembered my infinite potential even as I embodied one form? Because that is the essence of destiny coherence, to live in the paradox. To be both the eternal and the temporal. To be both the infinite wave and the finite collapse. To walk in the world of form while never forgetting the formless that you are. This is not philosophy. This is the blueprint for how you hold your frequency all day. Not by fighting collapse, but by remembering the wave. Not by denying form, but by staying rooted in the field. And now, as the metaphors settle into your body, let us move closer, because this transmission is not meant to remain abstract. You must feel recognized in it. You must hear your own story reflected back. And so, in the next breath, I will turn to you directly, asking questions only your soul can answer, questions that open the door to your deepest resonance. Let us pause here and turn the lens inward, because the science, the metaphors, the symbols, they are not just beautiful ideas, they are meant to awaken something in you. And the only way that awakening stabilizes is when you recognize yourself in it. So I will ask you questions now, questions that are not for your mind to answer quickly, but for your heart to absorb slowly. Let the words land like ripples in a still lake. Have you noticed how often you are pulled into a reality you didn't consciously choose? How often your energy scatters into thoughts that are not even yours? Fragments of old voices, echoes of family patterns, residues of societal programming. Have you ever caught yourself halfway through a day, realizing you have been running on autopilot, chasing tasks that do not matter, worrying about outcomes that never arrive? Do you recognize how those moments feel like static, like noise, like losing the very signal you were tuned to in the morning? And yet, do you also remember the times when everything aligned? When the phone call came at the exact second you thought of someone? When the words you needed appeared in a book, a sign, a passing stranger's remark? When you felt yourself lifted into flow, as though the world itself was conspiring to carry you? Have you noticed how fragile that state can seem? How quickly it evaporates when an old fear sneaks in? When someone's criticism latches onto your mind? When a single doubt unravels the golden thread? And here is the deeper question. What if that fragility is not proof of weakness, but proof of how powerful you truly are? Because if your field can collapse so suddenly into noise, it means your frequency is sensitive, It means your instrument is finely tuned, and what is sensitive can also be stabilized when you learn to play it with coherence. So ask yourself, what would it feel like if you could hold the frequency all day? Not just in meditation, not just in fleeting moments of synchronicity, but through each hour, each breath, each choice. How would your relationships change if you no longer oscillated between clarity and confusion, but radiated coherence as your natural state? How would your work, your creativity, your destiny unfold if you no longer lost energy to doubt, but carried the resonance of alignment into every action? Pause and listen, because even as I ask, a part of you already knows. You can feel the version of you who lives this way, the self who wakes up and stays awake, the self who anchors coherence not as a practice, but as a way of being, the self who does not chase destiny, because destiny is already flowing through their every word and gesture. Have you felt that self knocking at the edges of your awareness, in the moments when you know you are meant for more, in the whispers that come in dreams, in meditation, in silence, and perhaps, have you also felt the resistance, the part of you that says, it's too hard, the voice that says, I can't hold it, the fear that says, what if I lose myself if I stay coherent? If so, hear this, that resistance is not your enemy. It is the old loop, the dying echo of an outdated frequency. The fact that you can feel the resistance means you are beyond it. You are witnessing it. You are not trapped inside it anymore. So I ask again, and this time with deeper weight, are you ready to stop losing your quantum frequency? Are you ready to live not in fragments, but in wholeness? Are you ready to remember that coherence is not something you achieve, it is what you are? Sit with these questions. Let them stir the memory inside you. Because once the questions take root, the answers cannot be avoided. They grow, they bloom, they reshape you from the inside. And when you are ready, when the resonance within you says yes, then the hidden truth can finally reveal itself. The truth that coherence does not depend on effort. The truth that destiny is not earned, but remembered. The truth that staying in frequency is about the quality of your attention, not the strain of your will. That is where we go next. From the questions of the heart to the revelation of the key. Stay with me, because the next step will unlock the door you have been circling for lifetimes. You have felt the loop, you have heard the questions, you have touched the edge of coherence and slipped back again. And now, it is time to reveal the hidden truth, the one that shifts everything, the one that changes how you approach awakening forever. Listen carefully. Staying in your quantum frequency is not about effort. It is about the quality of your attention. You have been taught to strive, to push, to discipline yourself into alignment. You may have believed that coherence requires constant vigilance, endless effort, a battle against distraction. But what if that is the very reason you keep losing it? Because effort is friction. Effort signals to your field that coherence is something distant, something hard, something not yet yours. But coherence is not outside of you. It is not something to win or capture. Coherence is what you already are when you stop scattering your awareness. Imagine water. When disturbed, it ripples chaotically, fragments of reflection broken across the surface. That is your mind when you try too hard. But when the water is left undisturbed, when it becomes still, the entire sky reflects perfectly. That is your consciousness when you shift the quality of your attention. Do you see? You do not need to force the water still. You do not need to wrestle the ripples into silence. You need only to stop disturbing it. So let me give you the key. Coherence comes from relaxed presence, not strained control. When you breathe and let your awareness rest fully in this moment, coherence emerges on its own. When you notice the distractions without fusing with them, the field stays steady. When you choose to place your attention on what uplifts, what expands, what resonates your frequency, aligns naturally. Think of a tuning fork. When struck, it vibrates at a pure frequency. Place it beside another fork, tuned to the same pitch, and the second one begins to vibrate too, without effort. This is resonance. This is coherence. You do not have to hit the second fork. You simply hold your vibration, and the field aligns around you. That is what your life is waiting for. Resonance, not struggle. Your relationships, your work, your destiny, they are the second fork. They will vibrate in harmony with you when you hold your frequency with relaxed presence. So what does this look like in daily life? It is not complicated. It is subtle. It means noticing the moment you feel scattered and returning gently, without judgment. It means treating each breath as a reset, each pause as a doorway. It means remembering that attention is sacred currency, and where you spend it, reality grows. The quality of your attention is the steering wheel of your destiny. When scattered, the car swerves. When coherent, the road straightens. And here is the beautiful paradox. The more you stop trying to hold coherence, the more coherence holds you. Because coherence is not something you create. It is the natural state of consciousness when you are not lost in the loop. Pause with me here. Feel your breath without forcing it. Inhale, wave of potential. Exhale, collapsing to form. Inhale, infinite possibilities. Exhale, one reality chosen. This rhythm is not effort. It is natural, and so is your coherence. But I know what you may be thinking. If it's so simple, why does it feel so hard? Why do I keep losing it? The answer is this. You have been trained by the loop to believe that complexity equals truth, that struggle equals progress, that discipline equals worthiness. But the quantum field does not work that way. It responds not to strain, but to coherence, not to effort, but to resonance. So the shift is not in how hard you try, but in how softly you allow. Not in how much you control, but in how fully you receive. Not in how long you fight, but in how deeply you surrender to what is already yours. And this is why you are here. To stop losing your quantum frequency not by adding more rituals, more strategies, more effort, but by changing the very quality of your attention, by remembering that you are already the tuning fork, already the coherence, already the wave becoming form. Now, as this truth settles into your body, it is time for you to act, not as a consumer of content, but as a participant in energy. Because the next step of this transmission is to show you that every action you take here, even on this very video, is a sacred ritual of coherence. Up until now, you have been listening, absorbing, remembering, but coherence is not a theory. It is a state, and it is cultivated not only by what you hear, but by how you move, how you engage, how you channel your energy into action. And this is where the world has misled you. You have been told that pressing a button on a screen, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing is trivial, that these are empty gestures in the realm of algorithms and social platforms. But in truth, every action is an energetic act. Every choice you make is a vibration amplified into the field. So let me reframe it for you. Right now, in this very moment, the act of placing your attention here is not passive. It is active coherence. You are tuning your field to the signal you want to live in. When you press like, you are not just clicking. You are saying yes to coherence. You are affirming that your frequency matters, that you are consciously choosing to anchor it. Think of it as a mudra, a gesture of alignment, a simple movement of the hand that resonates in your energy body. When you comment, you are not just typing words into a void. You are crystallizing your frequency into language, collapsing the wave of your insight into the particle of form. Your words become quantum seeds, dropped into the collective field. And because this space is alive, those seeds sprout into resonance with others who are on the same journey. When you share, you are not merely forwarding content. You are transmitting light. You are becoming an entangled node in the network of awakening, amplifying coherence beyond your own field, weaving it into the tapestry of humanity. Every person who receives it becomes part of the resonance, and the ripple expands exponentially. And when you subscribe, you are not just joining a channel. You are choosing continuity. You are saying, I will keep tuning to this frequency. I will allow this signal to meet me again and again until coherence becomes my natural state. It is a ritual of devotion not to me, not to the screen, but to your own unfolding. Do you see how sacred this is? What looks like technology is, at its core, an extension of consciousness. What looks like a mundane action is, in fact, a micro-ritual of awakening. You are living in an age where your smallest choices ripple across the morphic field, where every gesture is encoded with frequency, where even digital actions are quantum acts collapsing potential into reality, amplifying resonance, shaping the collective wave. So as you engage here, do not treat it as casual. Treat it as sacred. Place your hand on your heart as you do it, if you wish. Whisper silently to yourself, I anchor coherence with this act, because coherence grows stronger when embodied, when enacted, when ritualized. You have already felt what happens when energy is scattered into unconscious actions. Imagine what happens when every action, no matter how small, is infused with awareness. You begin to live in a different world, not a world of random gestures, but of sacred movements. Not a world of empty algorithms, but of conscious resonance. Not a world of passive consumption, but of active awakening. And as you do this, you are not only stabilizing yourself, you are stabilizing the collective. Because every ritual you perform, every like, every comment, every share, every subscribe, contributes to the field of coherence that humanity desperately needs. This is how the personal becomes the collective. This is how your small act becomes a beacon. This is how you stop losing your quantum frequency, by anchoring it in embodied ritual, again and again, until it becomes who you are. And that brings us to the next movement. Because the coherence you anchor here does not remain in your personal field. It radiates outward. It uplifts others. It triggers awakening in those who are ready. It contributes to the great wave of remembrance sweeping across the planet. In other words, your shift is not just about you. It is about us, all of us. Pause for a moment and feel this truth. Your awakening is not isolated. It is not a private event happening in a sealed chamber of your mind. It is entangled. It is resonant. It is part of a vast orchestration that extends beyond your individual story. When you stabilize your quantum frequency, when you hold coherence all day, you do not just shift your timeline, you ripple through the field of humanity itself. Science has already hinted at this. Rupert Sheldrake spoke of morphic resonance, the idea that once one being learns, the field makes it easier for others to learn. The first bird that opened a milk bottle in England was a breakthrough. But soon, other birds, never in contact with the first, began to do the same. Why? Because the field remembered. This is happening with you. Every time you return to coherence, you are adding stability to the human field. Every time you anchor presence, instead of scattering into distraction, you are strengthening the morphic resonance of awakening. Imagine yourself as a tuning fork, vibrating in clarity. Other tuning forks around you, your family, your friends, even strangers begin to vibrate too. Not because you preach to them, not because you convince them, but because coherence is contagious. Think of entanglement, the quantum principle that says once particles have interacted, they remain connected, no matter the distance. You have already interacted with countless souls across lifetimes. You are entangled with them. When your frequency rises, the pulse is felt instantly, beyond space and time. This is why your personal shift matters. It is not selfish, it is service. Every act of coherence you embody is an offering to the whole. And perhaps you've already noticed it. Have you ever been calm in the midst of chaos and others around you softened without knowing why? Have you ever walked into a room with clarity and felt the atmosphere change as though the space itself breathed differently? Have you ever held love in your heart for someone and they suddenly reached out to you as if they felt it across the invisible bridge? This is the truth of collective awakening. Your field is not a cage, it is an emitter. It broadcasts coherence into the grid of humanity. And as more and more of us stabilize, the tipping point draws closer. A collective phase transition. A humanity that no longer oscillates wildly between fear and clarity, but stabilizes into a coherent wave of presence. This is why you cannot afford to keep losing your frequency. It is not only your destiny on the line, it is ours. The more you hold coherence, the more the world itself shifts. The more you stay in frequency, the easier it becomes for others to find theirs. The more you embody destiny coherence, the sooner the collective emerges from its slumber. And this is why the call to coherence is urgent, not in the sense of panic, but in the sense of sacred timing. Humanity is at a threshold. You can feel it in the air. Old systems breaking, old patterns collapsing, new frequencies pressing in, demanding embodiment. The chaos you see outside is not the end. It is the turbulence before stabilization. You are part of that stabilization. Your breath is not just your breath. It is the breath of the field. Your heartbeat is not just your heartbeat. It is the metronome of the collective rhythm. When you breathe consciously, when you choose coherence, you are breathing for more than yourself. And here is the paradox. The collective shift cannot happen without the individual, and the individual cannot stabilize without the collective. The two are one, like entangled particles, like waves resonating across an ocean, like neurons firing in a single brain. We are interwoven. So let this truth sink into you. When you hold coherence, you are not just uplifting your life, you are uplifting life itself. When you stop losing your frequency, you become a stabilizer for humanity. When you stay in destiny coherence all day, you accelerate the awakening of the planet. And to anchor this in your heart, we must now move into image, into metaphor, into the embodied story that lets you feel this truth in your bones. Because what words explain, metaphor makes alive. So let us step into the chrysalis. Let us feel the DNA reprogramming. Let us enter the embodied metaphor of transformation, where you see, with clarity, who you are becoming. Close your eyes for a moment and step into this image with me. Imagine the caterpillar. It lives its life crawling, consuming, endlessly hungry. Its vision of the world is narrow, bound to the surface it clings to. Yet within its cells lies a dormant code, the imaginal cells, carrying the blueprint of the butterfly. They are there all along, but silent, waiting for the moment of transformation. When the time arrives, the caterpillar enters the chrysalis. The old self dissolves. Its very body becomes liquid. The form it once knew, the identity it clung to, disintegrates. From the outside, it appears to be dying. But from the inside, something miraculous is happening. The imaginal cells awaken. They begin to organize, to resonate, to build the structure of wings. This is you. Every time you slip into incoherence, every time the old loop replays, it is not proof of failure, it is proof you are inside the chrysalis. You are dissolving the old pattern. You are reprogramming your DNA. You are allowing the blueprint of your higher self to awaken. Do you see how profound this is? The chaos you feel is not the end of your coherence, but the liquefaction of your old identity. The static is not collapse, but the melting down of the caterpillar self. And the golden thread of destiny you keep glimpsing, that is the pattern of your wings. Your coherence is not something you must invent. It is already encoded in your imaginal cells, in the deepest memory of your being. You were always meant to fly. The DNA of your destiny was never lost. It was simply dormant, waiting for your surrender. And notice this, the butterfly does not try to fly while it is still a caterpillar. It does not strain to imagine wings into existence. It dissolves, it allows, it trusts the process. And through that trust, coherence emerges. This is your task, not to force your frequency into perfection, but to surrender into the transformation already written in you, to let the old dissolve, to stop clinging to the fragments of who you were, to trust the imaginal code that knows exactly how to unfold. Feel it in your body now. Every cell carrying light, every strand of DNA humming with the memory of coherence, your entire being reorganizing, not through willpower, but through resonance. Like iron filings aligning around a magnetic field, your cells are aligning around the blueprint of your higher self. And as this happens, you begin to notice something. Your life itself is the chrysalis. Every challenge, every loop, every moment of collapse, they are the walls pressing around you, dissolving what no longer serves. The tighter it feels, the closer you are to breaking through. Then, one day, the chrysalis cracks. The butterfly emerges. Its wings are fragile, trembling, wet with the residue of the old. But with every breath of wind, with every pulse of sunlight, the wings strengthen. Soon, it takes flight. This is destiny coherence. Not a fragile state you keep losing, but the very wings of your becoming. Once you learn to fly, crawling will never satisfy you again. So, remember this. Every incoherent moment is not failure, but transformation. Every collapse is not regression, but reorganization. Every time you think you've lost your frequency, you are actually liquefying into the butterfly you were born to be. And once you stabilize, once your wings spread, you no longer just fly for yourself. You pollinate the collective field. You spread coherence across the garden of humanity. You carry seeds of awakening from one soul to another. This is the embodied metaphor of who you are. You are not a fragment trying to become whole. You are wholeness dissolving its old shell. You are not losing your quantum frequency. You are learning how to live with wings. And now, as you feel those wings stirring inside you, let us turn toward the horizon. Let us hear the voice of your future self, already coherent, already radiant, already alive, calling you forward. Let us step into the promise that what you are seeking is not ahead of you, but already within you, waiting to be remembered. You have walked through the loop. You have seen the mirrors of science become symbols of your awakening. You have felt the resonance of the questions that stirred your soul. You have surrendered to the truth that coherence is not effort, but the quality of attention. You have recognized that every action can be ritual, that your awakening ripples into the collective, that your very cells are already programmed with wings. And now, at this threshold, hear me clearly. The future self you long to become is not waiting somewhere distant. It already exists. It already breathes. It is already coherent. The you who never loses frequency. The you who walks in destiny coherence, from dawn to nightfall. The you who radiates presence, clarity, and love without interruption. That version is real. And right now, they are calling you. Listen. There is a thread, golden, steady, humming that stretches between the you who sits here, listening, and the you who already lives in coherence. That thread is not fragile. It is unbreakable. It is entanglement across time. The future self is not out there. It is vibrating in your field, guiding your choices, whispering through synchronicities. This is the promise. You cannot miss it. No matter how many times you fall into the loop, no matter how often you think you've lost your coherence, no matter how many moments of static cloud your day, your future self is inevitable. Because once a timeline is activated, it cannot be erased. Once coherence has been touched, it cannot be forgotten. Once the butterfly has been glimpsed, the caterpillar can never crawl in ignorance again. You are not chasing coherence. You are remembering it. You are not creating destiny. You are stepping into it. You are not struggling to build a new self. You are aligning with the self that already exists. And here is the paradox that soothes the fear. Even when you feel you have lost your frequency, the future self is still coherent. Even when you collapse into old loops, that self is still radiating. Even when you doubt, the thread does not break. You are being drawn forward, pulled like iron to a magnet, called like a wave to its shore. This is why you can relax. This is why you can stop trying so hard. Because coherence is not fragile. It is not something you lose. It is what you are, unfolding into what you always were. The promise is not that you will never stumble. The promise is that stumbling does not stop the unfolding. The promise is that every fall is folded back into the path. Every detour is still part of the coherence. Every shadow still reflects the light. So let me ask you now, can you feel that future self leaning closer? Can you sense the version of you who has already stabilized? Can you allow the certainty that they are not separate, but overlapping, entangled, already alive in you? Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe. Imagine that every inhale draws the future self nearer. Imagine that every exhale releases the fragments of the loop. With each cycle, the distance collapses. With each breath, the overlap grows. Soon there is no future and no present. Only coherence, here, now. This is destiny coherence, not chasing the future, but embodying it in the present. This is the promise, that the wings already belong to you, and flight is inevitable. So when you leave this space, you do not leave empty. You carry this thread with you, into your conversations, into your work, into the still moments of your day. The future self is not waiting. It is walking beside you. It is guiding you home. And as we prepare to close, there is one more step. Not just an idea, but a declaration. Not just a whisper, but a collective affirmation. Because coherence strengthens not only in silence, but in spoken truth. Together, we will seal this awakening in a sacred declaration, words you can carry, repeat, and plant as seeds in the field of humanity. Are you ready? Let us enter the final movement. Now we arrive at the circle's close, not an ending, but a sealing. This is the moment where you and I, and all who have gathered in this frequency, weave coherence into a collective affirmation. Because coherence, once spoken, becomes stronger. Once shared, becomes radiant. Once declared, becomes unshakable. So take a breath with me now. Inhale, the infinite wave of potential. Exhale, the collapse into form, into this moment, into these words. And together, let us declare, I am not losing my frequency. I am remembering it. I am not chasing destiny. I am aligned with it. I am not waiting for coherence. I am coherence. Here, now, my breath stabilizes the field. My attention shapes reality. My life is the chrysalis unfolding into wings. I live as the tuning fork of awakening. I carry coherence for myself, for humanity, for the world. And so it island. Let these words echo inside you. They are not poetry. They are programming. Each phrase is a key unlocking dormant memory in your cells, reminding you of what you already are. And now, as you anchor this declaration, let us act together, not as viewers scattered across the globe, but as one coherent field. Place your hand on your heart, if you wish. Feel the resonance of thousands, perhaps millions, breathing with you. Then, in this shared space, turn the declaration into action. Write it below in the comments. Not for me, not for vanity, but as an offering into the collective grid. Every word typed becomes a vibration anchored. Every repetition strengthens the morphic resonance. Like, share, subscribe, not as casual acts, but as part of this ritual. Each click is a tuning of the field. Each gesture is another strand woven into the golden net of coherence that is lifting humanity. This is the sacred truth. You are not just a witness to awakening. You are its vessel. You are not just listening to this transmission. You are transmitting it forward into the hearts of those who are ready. And so, the loop is closed. You are not a fragment wandering in chaos. You are coherence stabilizing into form. You are not a seeker fumbling in the dark. You are the light observing itself into being. You are not losing your quantum frequency. You are learning how to live as it. The promise has been fulfilled. The declaration has been spoken, and the field has been seeded. Carry it now, into your day, into your night, into your breath, into your every choice. And remember, the golden thread of destiny coherence is never lost. It is you.